Got it. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your endorsement and the support that you have put behind me in my efforts to become Ohio's next Secretary of State. And it's been a great relationship I've had with your organization. And by the way, you come to a picnic. I've never felt so safe at a picnic in my life. And I don't.
We try.
During my time in the Ohio House, both as a member of the House and as Speaker of the House, we had a great relationship. Brought to Ohio the opportunity to legally conceal carry in this state, and passed updates to that law when I was Speaker of the House, and it gave me, with your partnership, one of my most memorable experiences in the Ohio House, because we had passed a number of updates over threatened vetoes from the governor, and we went back and forth and tried to compromise, but finally we said, you know what, these are law-abiding citizens. These are reasonable changes that allow those law-abiding citizens to conceal carry, and we ought not water them down anymore. Enough's enough. And we went ahead and passed the legislation. Well, sure enough, well, thank you. Well, sure enough, the governor had fulfilled his promise and vetoed the legislation. And immediately I met with Senate President Bill Harris, and we said, it's time to start counting votes and override this veto. Well, at that point in time, no governor had a veto overridden since the early 1970s. You have to put together a 2/3 vote in both chambers. It's not an easy thing to do, but because of the fact that you have been active in the state, you have let the other legislators know that this was important to you. We had enough people that understood that their freedoms need to be respected, and that these were a reasonable thing to do. We overrode the governor's veto and passed those updates to conceal carry to provide you more freedom and more security in how you live your life and carry your guns in this state. And that was a pretty proud moment. You don't get a chance to take on those issues like that very often. And a lot of legislators sometimes wince in the face of that, with media beating on us, saying we shouldn't do these kinds of things. But we stood up and did the right thing, and I took the gavel that day, and I gave it we set aside a special gavel that day just so we could preserve it and save it and give to the folks who helped us get that legislation passed. And I have in my office, if you ever come visit me, a framed copy of the veto override that we did on concealed carry legislation. That's how much it meant to me and how much your support has meant to me, because we've done some really good things in Ohio. And thank you very much for that. I will tell you that to me, the right to bear arms, the right for concealed carry fall under those whole things that make us Americans, the freedoms of the individual, the things that we hold dear, that over 225 years ago people gave up their lives, their families, their resources, their futures to fight for those freedoms. That's what this is, to me, all about. And I know that we've had a lot of successes on Second Amendment rights in this state. But I get the sense that in Washington and in certain circles around this country that there is an erosion on other parts of our freedoms. Whether it has to do with some nationalization of some of our health care programs, whether it's a cap and trade legislation that's hurting small business in our economy, those kinds of things. When people don't have jobs and access to real opportunities, it erodes their personal freedom, and we have a country that runs up a $13.3 trillion national debt. I think that is beginning to erode our national freedom, as we have to borrow from the Chinese and other countries around the world to keep paying the bills. I feel a sense of us losing our national sovereignty. And I think it's the principles and the things that we all care about in this group that's gathered here, that's founded through our Constitution and the foundation of the Second Amendment, that unite us in that cause toward individual freedoms. It's important that groups like you remain strong, because I can tell you, there's a lot of times that people in the legislature and the legislative process don't necessarily care one way or another about your issue. They might just go the direction that the wind blows. And if you're not organized, if you're not putting pressure on them, if you're not aware of what's going on, the chances that the wind could begin to blow in the wrong direction towards erosion of your freedoms and the things that you value can very easily happen. And elections matter. The outcome of elections matter, because the people you choose and the foundation for how they're chosen really do matter. You can see very quickly an erosion of people who care about the Second Amendment and other freedoms that you care about on the basis of some of these elections. And that's why I think it's great that you have an organization to focus on concealed carry and Second Amendment rights, that you stay on top of it, that you took the time to come out here and meet with these candidates today, including myself, and to let people look. When this many people come out and talk and are willing to sit and listen and to have their voices heard, that means it's important to you. And you know what? That sets an impression on me that it should be important to me too. Yeah, it's in my heart and in my head that I believe it's important. But you know what? It's your voices and your heart and your presence that help make people like me and other elected officials stronger in advocacy for the things that you care about. And these are causes that we need to be united in fighting for. I am grateful that you have been with me over the 10 years that we've taken on these fights. And I want you to know that you can count on the fact that I will never, ever waver in the fight for the cause of the Second Amendment and your freedoms. Thank you very much.